Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Hunter from Outten Astrophotography here for part 2 of the ZWO Seestar S30 Pro series, where today we're going to be going over some of the internal upgrades with the brand new Pro version over the original first generation, and we get to look at a little bit of some images that I've taken with this telescope. And let me tell you, it is extremely impressive what this little guy can do. Now, luckily, over the past couple of nights, I actually got to have a little bit of some clear skies, even dealing with the extreme cold over the past couple of weeks. But I have been getting some clear skies and dealing with some very strong winds. But luckily, with the brand new setup that I have in my observatory, it is no problem whatsoever, and it blocks all of that awful wind that I normally get here during the winter months. But before we start looking at the images that were taken with the scope, we have to talk about some of the brand new upgrades to the internal portions of the S30 Pro. So let's dive right on in. The latest evolution in ZWO's Seestar lineup that brings real astrophotography performance into a highly portable all-in-one package. At the heart of the S30 Pro is the Sony IMX585 sensor, a significant upgrade over the older IMX662 sensor found in the previous models. This 8.3 megapixel 4K sensor delivers a much higher resolution, better low light sensitivity, and cleaner images of deep sky objects. The optical system centers on a 30mm aperture apochromatic refractor, which is a 4-element design with 160mm focal length and a fast f5.3 focal ratio, giving you a great balance of sensitivity and reach for nebulae, star clusters, galaxies, and more. One of the standout features of the S30 Pro is its dual lens design. Along with the main telephoto lens, there is a dedicated wide-angle camera using the Sony IMX586 sensor. This ultra-wide sensor lens boasts a f1.75 focal ratio and roughly 63-degree field of view, which is perfect for capturing Milky Way panoramas, star trails, time lapses, and nightscape shots. Onboard imaging is boosted by a suite of integrated filters. You get a UV IR cut filter for cleaner color fidelity, light pollution filters tuned to oxygen 3 and hydrogen alpha bands to enhance nebula contrast, a dark field filter for deeper sky shots, and even a magnetic solar filter that is included for safe solar imaging right out of the box. The optics themselves is a quadruplet apochromatic design, offering a flatter field and tighter stars right to the edge of the frame, a big improvement over the older triplet optic design. Wrapped up in a compact body weighing just about 1.65 kilograms, the S30 Pro also includes a 128GB of internal storage, smart app control with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC pairing, automatic tracking and object acquisition, and an intelligent imaging processing that makes capturing breathtaking astrophotos easier than ever. So now we are outside, and this is what the setup we're going to be using for the deep sky tests. I am inside of the Shells Observatory here, and I have this set up perfectly for polar alignment. I'm using the Skywatcher Star Adventurer wedge. These have been out of stock for quite a while, and I finally got the opportunity to actually get one of these in stock, so Amazon came in clutch, and I figured I would want a permanent setup inside of the observatory here, just because of one, all the wind that I deal with, and have something that is, you know, completely stationary, rock solid, don't have to have any movement whatsoever. But we are going to be in EQ mode for this test. That's definitely going to be a way to go, because one, we don't have to deal with field rotation from the alt-azimuth because of the tilt of the Earth. Going up, down, left, and right will cause a little bit of some turning in the overall field of view. So putting this in EQ mode prevents that, and it basically follows the path of the meridian that follows completely around the entire globe. So we're going to be doing a series of some 10-second and 30-second exposures. This can do up to 60-second exposures, but you will have a little bit of some issues probably with the drop-off for that. So try and keep your exposures down. At least if you want some longer ones, 30 seconds is going to be the way to go. But if you're using the wide-angle lens, 60-second exposures should be perfectly fine. So this is going to be the setup. I'm going to meet you back inside, and I'm going to show you some of the brilliant results that this S30 Pro actually put out.
So I managed to get 4 different targets at 2 hours of exposure time for each, some broadband and some with narrowband imaging. This is going to be inside a PixInsight, where I'm going to be showing you the straight out of the live stack fits file that you get completed at the end of your imaging session, to a little bit of some light processing done. I have a combination of broadband and narrowband targets for this test here, and the first one is going to be a globular cluster, and the first one is going to be Messier 13. This is in the constellation of Hercules, and you can see we do have a little bit of some elongation here in the overall tracking of things in this live stack. More probably because of the extreme winds that I was dealing with too when I was doing the first testing of this, gusting 40-50 miles an hour in the observatory. So we have a little bit of some, deviations, but all in all, that's not actually too terribly bad. We can actually get the resolution of the core of the super small stars that are right near in the center. So this is straight out of the back. There's not much in the way of some like noise reduction, which we do have the ability to do noise reduction right inside of the app itself with some minor processing, some automatic background extraction. So this is just the raw 2 hours of exposure time with a little bit of some processing magic though. You can get something that looks like this. This is the process image of Messier 13, and we can see things look a lot better, if I have to say so myself, with a little bit of some noise reduction. We have some blur exterminator to kind of correct a little bit more of the stars itself. This is some paid tools along with it, but even when I was just doing it inside of the app, I got the same results. So you don't have to have PixInsight to be able to do, some processing of your images. Luckily, inside of the Seestar app, you can do that, just some minor touches, but I'm so used to doing it here on a computer with all of my other astrophotography rigs, it's kind of second nature to me. And yeah, Messier 13 looks great. Stars all the way down towards the core. This is a non-drizzled image. Definitely would recommend, if you are processing on a computer, I would do at least a 2 times drizzle to kind of help with the blockiness of the stars. So first test off pretty darn good. The background itself looks very nice with some very basic, dynamic background extraction right off the bat. And plus there wasn't really much in the way of gradients for this image. So now we're going to be doing another broadband target. This is going to be Messier 81 and 82, known as the Bow Galaxy and the Cigar Galaxy. Now this one had a little bit of some high clouds that were moving through. You can actually see a little bit of that when we're looking at the background itself. We also have some background artifacts here. No surprise with that because of the little bit of some shifting in the overall tracking, but a lot of these subs actually stayed in place. I don't even think I lost about 10% of the subs, even though with the wind, but the overall structure of everything looks pretty darn good. Stars look nice. But it's the processing that really, fine-tunes everything, especially when we do a dynamic background extraction. We do a little bit of some deconvolution of the stars, some color correction, and then I did some cropping for this too. And this is what we ended up with in the end. And this looks really, really nice. You can actually see some pretty nice structure inside of the Cigar Galaxy here in Messier 82. You can pick up a little bit more of the hydrogen alpha jets that are coming out of the center. Stars look perfectly fine. And then down over in the Bow Galaxy, we actually picked up more of that little blue and purplish color through here. And, for just 2 hours, and the background looks great too. If you look over towards the side, we also have the Garland Galaxy too, with a little bit of some structure there towards the core. And, the stars themselves look nice and round and really colorful. So given the unsatisfactory conditions, this is not too bad of an image. And plus, this is around the time that the moon was out too, roughly about 70%. So we also have a little bit of some glow there in the background. So I cannot complain about that whatsoever. Now, start to go over to another galaxy. This one is probably one of my all-time favorite galaxies in the night sky, and that is Messier 51, known as the Whirlpool Galaxy. Now, the Whirlpool Galaxy in the S30 with this sensor is kind of small. I will admit that galaxies, especially like this, are going to be a little bit more difficult when it comes to the S30 because you don't have that focal length. But if you're doing clusters of galaxies, yeah, this one should work out pretty nicely. But even at like 100% zoom, you can actually see very good detail here near the core. We have the interacting galaxy, and if you look over very closely, you can actually see a little bit of the tidal streams on here. And this was only 2 hours of data with no moon at this time. We actually have some background galaxies too, and the processed one looks really good, especially when you cropped in. This is a 100% view here. Nice blue color in the spiral galaxy itself, and you can see that tidal stream I was talking about. That is crazy, getting from a 30mm aperture scope and only a 2 hours of data with the built-in filter of the UV IR cut and just some very minor processing. This is awesome for anyone who is just getting into the hobby, and this is kind of the result that you would get with just some basic, photo editing. This is a big win here, especially with the kind of detail that you would see there all the way down towards the core. If this was me, 5 years ago starting off in a hobby and I got an image like this, this easily, I would be hooked for life, which I already am. And then finally going over to a little bit of some narrowband. I went to do some exposure time with the Rosette Nebula using the built-in HA03 filter, or what they call it, the light pollution filter. And we can see we do have a little bit of some gradient down there towards the bottom, but near the core itself actually looks really good. We got some decent detail there across the board. We can see some of the dark structures through here. We have a satellite cluster that's located near the center. We have a little bit of some elongated stars due to a little bit of some, tracking problems with the wind. And, since we're not actually guiding with the Seestar, so it's kind of just picking random areas, kind of like the automatic dither. But with some processing, you get an image like this, and actually did a little bit of some further processing because you need to be a little bit more specific when doing some narrowband stuff just to kind of pick up the really brilliant colors. And here you go, all the way down towards the core, we got some colorful stars. Even with the light pollution filter, we got some brilliant dark structures around the core. And, this is a nice, wonderful target, especially this time of year, to be able to do something like this. And I have one more photo to show you, and I wanted to save the best for last. So this was actually the first image I have captured with the S30 Pro here, and it is a view of the Great Orion Nebula and the Running Man Nebula in the constellation of Orion. This is a naked eye nebula that you can see, and if you didn't know, the Orion Nebula is the sword on the Orion constellation. And this one is a really nice test to see what kind of detail you can bring, because this is straight out of the stack here. After I turn off the auto color, even just out of the stack itself without any processing, look at this detail that we're finding in this nebula here. Of course, the core is blown out where it had that famous trapezium is. You have to work with that a little bit, but the stars themselves look really, really good. You have these like nice kind of sine spike pattern that you would normally see from like a telephoto lens on a like a DSLR camera. We have the Running Man here in the background. If you tilt it on its side, that's what it looks like, a Running Man. Got some brilliant reflection nebulae going on. And if you look faintly in the background, you can actually see a lot of some interstellar dust that's being picked up too. There's a little bit of like a weaker reflection nebula down towards the center. Star colors look great, but wait until you see the fully processed image of this. In fact, it's probably my favorite one of Orion I've done so far, and it's from the Seestar, of all things. So this is what we ended up with in the end. My goodness, what a incredible photo. Look at the brilliant color here that I was able to bring out, the intricate structure, all the reflection nebulae, the stellar nurseries, and even towards the center, yeah, you picked up a little bit of the trapezium. I know, that's surprising, right? We had that dark nebulae structure going all the way around. We have the Running Man Nebula. Looks great. And even this fainter dust that surrounds the Orion Nebula is all visible. We have a little bit of some hydrogen alpha in the background too. If you didn't know, there is a lot of HA in the background, and this was just with the UV-IR cut, so this is taken from broadband. If you did this with the narrowband filter, you would pick up a lot more of that hydrogen alpha that's surrounding in the background, but I was able to actually pull it off pretty good. Even down here in the corner, that's when we start running into the portions of what they know as the Barnard's loop, that loops around from the bottom portion of Orion, and it goes all the way up towards where the sword and the hand is, where he looks like he's in a fighting stance. So absolutely incredible image picked up from just 2 hours with a smart telescope under $600. So I am just, this is going to be a lot of fun using this down the line, and wait until we start trying to use the wide angle lens, which will be in the next video.
Some very impressive images, isn't it? Yeah, I am actually quite blown away of what the capabilities that this little guy can do. So what are my final thoughts when it comes to the S30 Pro? Well, it is definitely an upgrade that was heavily needed. Having the ability to cram in a IMX585 sensor, which is what I use a lot for my main observatory rig, and I love every bit of it. It's a perfect combination for this smart telescope, and then the included, wide angle lens on top of that with another separate sensor. It's just, a match made in heaven for this price range of $599 US. So definitely, I am going to be using this quite often in my observatory, and I'm probably going to be using this as a lot of different, EAA setups, me doing a lot of the outreach, space camp. The students love the Seestar series every single time I bring it, and they always ask every single year that I go if I brought this, because they love to be able to take pictures for themselves and be able to show their friends and family that they did that at space camp. So definitely I am extremely blown away by the capabilities of this smart telescope. And for all those that keep saying that, this is just a toy, well, isn't our entire hobby just one really expensive toy? If you think about it, it's just a matter of, having the capabilities to do this, at a more affordable rate, because at $599, you get, something that can look at the moon, the sun with the solar filter, deep sky astrophotography, Milky Way photography, some scenic stuff, tracking objects. I mean, you get a lot of bang for buck. And is this going to replace my at home observatory setup? Of course not, but there is also a massive price difference between $599 to what my rig is several $1,000s. So you're going to be expecting a big difference in performance, but for $599, this is really, really nice, and that upgrade was definitely needed. So I'm going to continue on testing this over the next couple of videos in this series. The next one we're going to be working on is the wide field lens, which is going to be really cool because I got a project in mind I want to try out, and I'm going to see if I'm going to be able to, especially with the moon going away, and this target is beginning to kind of leave us as well too. So be sure to keep notifications turned on. Leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you happen to have your S30 Pro already, let me know what you think about it, or if you're on the fence between, wanting to get the S30 Pro or just a regular S30, I'll have some affiliate links down below. It just helps me out a little bit if you use those, and no extra cost to you. I just get a little bit of, a small fraction of a percentage just because of, being able to recommend and test these products out for you. So as always, clear skies, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.